Welcome, builders. Grab your hard hats and unroll your schematics, because today I am your chief architect, and you have just stepped into the blueprint room. We are undertaking a massive, high-rise exam construction workshop. Now, our singular objective today? We are going to engineer a structurally flawless high-rise response for the 10-mark information from passages final task. Specifically, we're talking about the Cambridge AS and A-Level Arabic Language 8680 exam. Look, if you have ever felt like your essays were just, crumbling under the immense pressure of the Cambridge mark scheme, you are in exactly the right place. We aren't just going to look at surface-level tips and tricks today. No way. We are going straight into load-bearing architectural design. I'm going to teach you how to lay down an unshakable thesis foundation, erect high-tensile analytical arguments, and construct structural sentence connections that will survive literally the most rigorous examiner's stress testing out there. So let's start mixing the concrete for those top-tier grades, all right? So let's dive into this massive structural failure that happens on exam day every single year. Why do so many extremely smart, totally well-prepared students completely struggle to apply their knowledge when the exam context is unfamiliar? When the Cambridge examiners hand you an Arabic passage you've never seen before, it is the ultimate stress test. I see students construct these beautiful, memorized responses, but because those responses aren't anchored to the unfamiliar terrain of the specific text provided, the whole building collapses. To really understand this, I want you to picture two builders in our architectural firm here. We've got Builder Alex, and we've got Builder Sam. Now, Builder Alex is a seriously hard worker, but Alex loves to stack up incredibly heavy bricks of raw facts and memorized vocabulary. Alex just stacks them higher and higher and higher without ever actually checking if the internal steel frame can support that conceptual weight in a brand new environment. Then you have Builder Sam. Sam wants to immediately install all the shiny glass panels and decorative features, the fancy vocabulary words, the flowery prose, before even cementing the foundational columns. Sam completely misses the core command words of the question. And as we go through this explainer, we're going to listen in on their specific process to see exactly how both of these approaches lead to catastrophic failure when the ground shifts. But here is the good news, that failure is completely preventable. A senior Cambridge examiner explicitly noted that most students lose easy marks on this final 10-mark task, but after grasping this framework, you absolutely won't be one of them. Focus on those two words for a second, easy marks. The 10 marks sitting at the very end of your Arabic language paper, they're not hidden behind a trick door. They are highly accessible, but only if you have the right structural blueprint. We are going to completely eliminate those lost marks today by building a rock-solid exam strategy based directly on the senior examiner's guidance. Here is our master blueprint for today's build. 1. Conceptual foundation. 2. Procedural framework. 3. Critical analysis. 4. Examiner inspection. And 5. The final blueprint. Starting right off with Phase 1, Conceptual Foundation. Listen, a building without a foundation is really just a pile of expensive materials waiting for a strong wind to knock it over. In the context of the information from passages task, your conceptual foundation is your fundamental grasp of what the examiner is actually testing. It's not just about translating or summarizing. It's about demonstrating a deeply connected conceptual understanding. The absolute bedrock of our foundation is what we call the method mark strategy. Cambridge doesn't just want a final answer dropped out of the sky. They want to see the blueprints. A grading system where marks are awarded for demonstrating the correct structural analytical process means the examiners are looking at exactly how you built your argument, not just what you built. They want to see the structural process of your thinking. If Builder Alex just drops a prefabricated answer block onto the paper, 0 method marks are awarded. Why? Because the examiner cannot see the linguistic working out. You have to make your thought process visible. You literally have to show them the scaffolding. The syllabus heavily emphasizes that top-tier students don't just memorize specific scenarios. Instead, they build a strong enough foundation of systematic analysis and evidence-based reasoning to support their arguments, no matter what unfamiliar context gets thrown at them. When you walk into that exam hall, you're going to face a totally unfamiliar text. If your foundation is rigid and memorized, it's going to crack. But if you have mastered the fundamental principles, how to extract data, how to cross-reference, how to evaluate evidence, your foundation becomes completely adaptable. You can pour it into any shape the Arabic stimulus material demands. You are building transferable structural integrity. Moving to Phase 2, our procedural framework. All right, with the cement poured and cured, it is time to erect the load-bearing framework of your response using a strictly procedural approach. We need a systematic way to process the Arabic passages so that our final 10-mark response is perfectly aligned with the Cambridge building codes.
The crucial point here is following these exact procedural steps sequentially. Step 1. Deconstruct the question. Isolate the command stress points. What exactly is the prompt asking you to build? Is it asking you to compare, evaluate, or synthesize? Step 2. Extract relevant data. Mine the stimulus materials for the exact raw materials you need. Leave the excess weight behind. Step 3. Execute with clear notation. Select the right analytical framework and start assembling that extracted data logically. Step 4. Verify and present. Step back, look at the alignment. Ensure your results are actually reasonable and present them with professional precision. This 4-step framework ensures you are consistently deploying data exactly where it has the absolute highest structural impact. Just like a high-rise building needs strict adherence to municipal safety codes, your exam answer must follow strict presentation conventions. The examiner reports are explicitly clear on this. Proper headings act as your navigation signage. Correct terminology is the precise measurement of your materials, calling a specific grammatical structure by its exact academic name. Appropriate formats mean paragraphing effectively and maintaining a formal academic register. We're talking about relying on proper Fusha, modern standard Arabic, rather than slipping into colloquial dialects. And clear annotation means leaving a visible trail of your reasoning. If Builder Sam tries to put up shiny glass panels without these strict conventions, the building inspector is going to fail the structure immediately. Technical methodology is just non-negotiable here. Okay, phase 3, critical analysis. Now we must rivet the heavy steel into place by building high-level critical analysis skills. We are moving way beyond just summarizing what the Arabic passage says and stepping right into the architectural debate of how and why it says it. Let's actually look back at our two builders, Alex and Sam, over at the drafting board. They're looking at an unfamiliar Arabic passage about the economic impact of solar energy versus traditional fossil fuels in the Middle East. Let's listen in on their ironwork peer debate. So, builder Alex argues for a descriptive approach. Alex says, okay, I'm just going to list all the vocabulary about solar panels and write down exactly what the author says about the costs. It's safe, it's solid, it's factual cement. But builder Sam shakes his head. Sam counters, no, Alex, think about it. If we just build a solid descriptive wall that summarizes the text, we have absolutely no hollow space for a dynamic counterargument. We aren't analyzing the author's bias or the strength of their economic claims. Without that tension, our structure has zero flexibility to hit the higher order assessment objectives. And Sam is completely right here. Sam is advocating for the evaluative approach. A descriptive answer merely tells the examiner what the text says. It's a weak frame and it collapses under the pressure of a 10-mark tariff. An evaluative approach, on the other hand, demands justified recommendations. It tests the limits of the text. The evaluative approach is your reinforced concrete. To actually construct that evaluative approach, you must evaluate your evidence by analyzing 4 specific structural stress points. First, identify limitations. Where is the passage's argument weak or lacking evidence? Second, spot assumptions made by the author. What unwritten rules or cultural biases are they relying on? Third, propose alternative interpretations. If someone looks at this exact same data from a totally different angle, what would they see? And finally, determine the effect on conclusions. How do these limitations and assumptions alter the final takeaway? This is exactly how you rivet the heavy steel. You test the structural integrity of the passage itself. Now, the syllabus demands that you don't just list facts in parallel, you have to synthesize them. When doing comparative analysis, you must use structural comparative connectives to bridge similarities and differences. Think of these linguistic cables like the Arabic terms for contrast and addition. You can't just place 2 ideas next to each other and hope they stick. You need high tensile cables. Words like bial muqabo for in contrast, or min nahiya ukhra for on the other hand, or when you're layering evidence using kama anna for similarly. You use these specific Arabic connectives to actively pull the evidence together into a final, justified conclusion about their relative importance. You evaluate the alternatives, compare the approaches, and lock them firmly in place. Next up, phase 4, the examiner inspection. All right, mid-build site inspection pause. Stop what you're doing. Before we secure this high-scoring paragraph framework, we need to make sure your construction line is permanently reinforced. So subscribe to AC Exams right now and turn on all notifications to receive our weekly structural grade upgrades. Whether you are building an IGCSE foundation or setting up a massive A-level skyscraper, this explainer is your primary grid. Okay, let's look at the clipboard. The top 3 critical construction failures that ruin students' marks. Number 1, forgetting to include proper format. Number 2, failing to check presentation before time runs out. And number 3, providing generic, out-of-context answers. Let's say your builders hit an unexpected structural roadblock mid-paragraph. Maybe your evidence beam fails to latch onto the main thesis column. You need a blueprint template to fix it on the fly. We highly recommend the PEEL methodology. Point, evidence, evaluate, link. It literally rivets your data being directly to your main thesis column so your paragraph never falls out of format. But listen to me, the absolute biggest red tag an examiner can put on your paper is for that third warning, the generic answer. If you build prefabricated answers that you memorized weeks ago and you try to just drop them onto the paper without bolting them directly to the specific context of the Arabic passage in front of you, your grade will instantly fail the inspection. The classic language student mistake is writing beautifully accurate, grammatically flawless Fusha Arabic that has absolutely nothing to do with the actual scenario presented in the stimulus. It literally doesn't matter how perfect your vocabulary is if you are writing a generic essay about the environment when the text is specifically asking you to evaluate the regional economic hurdles of solar grid implementation. Always link every single point, every piece of evidence, and every evaluation directly back to the given specific scenario. Anchor it to the ground.
Finally, Phase 5. The final blueprint.
I want you to memorize this 3-stage deconstruct, solve, evaluate method. This right here is your primary architectural grid for problem solving under the massive time pressure of the exam clock. Let's do a live site safety audit right now. A quick, interactive rebar stress test. Imagine a complex source of data chart pops up on your exam paper. The clock is ticking down. 60 seconds. What do? First, you identify the given info by deconstructing the prompt in the passage. What are the specific parameters? What is the single most high-yielding core metric needed for construction? You find it. Second, break the problem into logical steps and solve systematically. Construct your paragraphs beam by beam, ensuring your evidence is properly linked with comparative connectives like Bial-Muqabal. Third, check for reasonableness, which is your evaluative stage. Have you justified your recommendations? Have you spotted the assumptions? This is exactly how you guarantee maximum structural integrity. To wrap up our master blueprint, here's your final schematic. Remember that the process itself earns method marks. You have to show your analytical working out. You must follow presentation conventions rigidly, treating formal academic register and formatting as strict municipal building codes. And above all else, you must contextualize all comparative analysis to the specific unfamiliar passage sitting right in front of you. If you trust this architectural process, if you use exact formatting, and you anchor every single point to the text using the Peel method, you will absolutely construct an unbreakable 10-mark answer. So, as you pack up your schematics and head out to practice this exact blueprint on real Cambridge past papers, I want to leave you with a mental stress test. Ask yourself, what is the very first structural upgrade you need to make to your own writing? Do you need to stop stacking heavy, descriptive facts like Builder Alex? Or do you need to start actually cementing your foundation before using shiny vocabulary like Builder Sam? Pinpoint the structural element of your critical analysis that needs the most reinforcement and apply it to your very next past paper. Get to work, keep building, and we will see you on the site for the next explainer.